Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another installment in our character breakdown series for Marvel's Contest of Champions. Today we will be having a look at an oldie but a goodie, and that is the classic version of Spider-Man. There are a lot of Spider-Verse characters in this game, and a lot of versions of Spider-Man in general. So what does this version bring to the table? Well, defensively, quite a lot. Offensively, he still has his uses, but there are still some things that I feel could be altered about this character and the way that he works in order to make him a bit more relevant in the current meta of the game. And we will talk about that a little bit later on in the video, but we do need to start off by discussing how he currently works and the mechanics of his character. He's a pretty bare-bones character in and of himself. Has special attacks have an 8% chance of boosting the critical rating by a certain amount for 6.5 seconds, and that amount does increase based off of the rarity of the character as well as the level of the character as well. So you will want to keep that in mind. It's not a huge thing that you should expect to see happening. However, it is something that helps him out a little bit, especially with the different strikes that happen on his many different special attacks. On any critical hit, there is a 62% chance for your Spider-Man to break the opponent's armor and apply a 5-second armor reduction. The strength of that armor rating, again, varies based off of the strength of the character, but there are many other characters in this game that offer a lot better armor break type abilities if that's what you're really needing to rely on in this type of a fight. Off the special 1 attack, there is a 68% chance to inflict weakness on your opponent, which will decrease their attack by about half for a 6-second span, which is always nice to see. And the special attack 2 will ignore a certain amount of block proficiency. It's a decently safe attack to use if you are coming into an opponent that's blocking, so you'll deal a bit more damage through the block if they do happen to block it, and it is safe enough to the point where he retreats a pretty fair distance away. So if you throw out a special 2 in the midst of an attack or in the midst of a fight and it does bounce off the opponent's block, you'll still get a decent amount of damage in despite not making physical contact with the opponent. The only other real item that Spider-Man brings to the table is his signature ability, which is, of course, the Spider Sense. And this ability will increase the efficiency, or give Spider-Man the ability to, and increase the ability of his evasion abilities mid-combat, which means that he will randomly evade back away from attacks every so often. And at max level, it happens about 25% of the time, or 1 out of every 4 hits or so, you should expect Spider-Man to be able to retreat or slink away from an incoming attack. And that does mean that Spider-Man has the ability to flee from your combo strings right in the middle of it, and then throw a retaliation right back in your face, or in the event that you are using the character and you can react to it fast enough, you can turn a combo against the opponent on its own. So it's a very annoying tactic to be present, but I feel like Spider-Man could use a little bit more love in his kit, and this is where we'll pivot and talk a little bit more about how he could be made a more relevant character. Now, a lot of that relevancy does revolve around the topic of making this fight a lot more difficult, but we've been seeing those types of difficulty hikes increasing with a lot of the newer characters that are being added to the game. So I don't feel like this is out of place or even a far cry from what could potentially happen for this character. The first thing that I would love to see happen with Spider-Man is I'd like for him to have at least some ability to evade away from attacks, even without that signature ability. I mean, it's Spider-Man, for crying out loud. You should have that ability present within his base function of the character, and I think that his signature ability should just play off of or further increase that amount. I would even say that it would be appropriate to give Spider-Man a 5% chance to evade out of an attack without his signature ability, and then maintain that 25% chance for the evasion, or an increased 25% chance for evasion to trigger once he does have his signature ability maxed out, giving you in total a 30% chance to evade out of a combo or out of a strike or out of danger from your opponents. And I don't feel like that would break the character or make this that more difficult of a fight defensively. What I do feel like needs to happen to really bring this character some more relevance is when he evades, I feel like he should have a passive buff that lingers until the next strike on his opponent. Think about any time Nightcrawler evades an attack, he gets a passive cruelty strike up, and he can stack those, but if he lands a critical hit, they are all expunged or used up at that one point in time. I feel like that mechanic would work really well for Spider-Man, except I feel like it would be better from a precision type aspect, where he gets a guaranteed crit the next hit after he evades away from an attack. And you could have multiple of those stack up, but it wouldn't really make a difference, because as long as they are all used up and consumed right at the moment of landing an attack after evading an incoming strike from an opponent, that's really all that there has to be to making this character a little bit more viable in the realm of damage. And it would also make him a more terrifying defender to run against in different quests and or wars against your opponents. So I feel like that is a very conservative approach to taking when it comes to improving this character's functionality. There's not a whole lot of other things that I'd really love to see with this character. That is the gist of what I feel would improve his viability and bring him into a more meta-defining conversation than what he's currently sitting at. Especially with as long as this character's been around, and we've seen many new iterations of Spider-Man be added into the game, and even other Spider-Verse characters. While Spider-Man, as annoying as he can be to combat against, he does have his amount of counterplay, and so making him that much more of a threat is certainly something that I would love to see. I mean, really, at this point in time, all you need to bring in is a character such as Ghost, who phases through attacks and play strategically in order to ensure that you're not taking any of those counter strikes to the face. You can bring in characters that have True Strike or True Accuracy type abilities that completely negates and shuts down Spider-Man. So a couple of minor adjustments to improve the viability of this character, in all honesty, really can go quite a long ways. But what do you think? Do you think that there are improvements that can be made to Spider-Man's character? Do you feel like there's anything that's been overlooked, overshadowed, or do you honestly think he needs to be toned down? Be sure to let me know what you think of this character in the comments down below. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like on it, and don't forget to subscribe for that daily variety content. Thanks again for your time, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day.